Hi, everyone. Hope everyone's having a nice night. I wanted to say good evening from Hampton Bays. I know you're all in town yourself. Some of us haven't left either. It's been an exciting and rewarding reopening, and we're so glad to see your children back, whether it be within our classrooms or remotely. Today was a huge day for Hampton Bays. Today was the first time that 6 through 12 all together were live streaming from classes. So if you would have told me back in 96 when I left college that I would ever see anything like this in my life as a teacher or as an administrator, I would have said no way. And um, these things don't just happen. They happen because we have incredible faculty that have really gained a lot of momentum last spring and came back into this fall charged up in a way to figure out how we can make things work in whatever capacity and in any location. And this didn't end in the spring. You know, this went throughout the summer and summer school, and here we are now, almost 3 weeks into the reopening, which has been extremely successful, and we appreciate everybody's support at home as we always have since March. Tonight, you're going to hear from Mrs. Dabrowski. She's an outstanding educator in the 6th grade, has always worked extremely hard, and has been somebody that has spoken about Nearpod for quite some time, has used it on her own with a few other colleagues within the middle school. And this year we decided to invest in it as well, mainly because it gives us the ability to interact, during a presentation, collect formative assessment data and adjust as we go, rather than a passive type of teaching where we might present something and then wait for a response afterwards. So we appreciate everything that she's done to bring all of us up to speed, and we're grateful to have this moment tonight where this will be recorded. So if those of you who have friends after you're done watching this, we'll produce an area of our website that people can view this video, and we'll continue to present other applications that we've invested in that we feel are cutting edge and that we are excited to be able to offer our students. Next week, you'll hear from Dr. Della Speranza on a K-2 application. Kindergarten through 2nd grade are going to use Seesaw this year as a means in which to interact remotely. And then the next, not this Thursday, but the following Thursday, we'll have Mr. Perez will present Ed Puzzle. So I've done enough talking. Again, I appreciate Mrs. Dabrowski being here. I appreciate all of you being here as well. If during this presentation, if you have the webinar registration link, please share it out and invite other people. They could log on at any time. If you have any comments, put them in the chat. If you have any questions, put them in the Q&A. And then at some point, Mrs. Dabrowski will circle back and we'll answer those questions if you have any. So thanks again, and enjoy tonight's tutorial.
All right. Thank you, Mike. So good evening, everyone, and welcome to Nearpod 101. And I'm going to share my screen in 1 second. Okay. And hopefully you can see that. So this is Nearpod. And if you'd like to try out the lesson as we move through, you can get another device like your cell phone or a tablet. And I'll explain how to log in the next few slides. So Nearpod, as Mr. Carlson mentioned, is an interactive way that we can bring our lessons to the students, not only from the classroom, but to home as well. And there are 2 modes, teacher-led and student-paced. Teachers can see how students respond in real time, and then we can assess the reports at the end. Teacher-led, the teacher is in control of the slides. The students see the slides at their Chromebooks, or even just on the smartboard at the school, or even from home, they can look at it as we're doing teacher-led remotely. Student pace, students can work on things independently as well, and they can complete the lessons at their own time, and they can log in as many times before it is due. And Nearpod overall allows teachers to deliver engaging lessons from anywhere, anytime. We get real-time insights into the students' learning, even when they're not together. We can easily upload our existing plans that we have, whether they were in Google Slides, and we can upload them right into Nearpod, make them interactive. And now we can have learning at home the same way we were doing it in the classroom if we end up having to go completely remote. This also allows students access on any device, including mobile, with no passwords required. So the first thing we are going to do, if you'd like to join, is to go to nearpod.com, and you use either another device like a cell phone or a tablet. There's also a Nearpod app that is available. I haven't played with that yet. But once you go to nearpod.com, you will see this screen. And then I need to, I guess I lost that other part. Okay. Nearpod.com. So now you have the same screen. I'm going to log in just like you would. And you're going to put in this code right into the red box where it says students join. And it will take them to a screen. It might not take me, but it should take you to a screen where it will ask you to put your name in. We encourage the students to put their last name and their first name in. For me, it's just going to log with Google. I actually have it set up automatically for my students' names or the emails to get picked up. So this way I can see it in the reports. So now I have it up just like you guys. And I have my teacher paste here, and this is my student paste. Some frequently asked questions by parents is the personal information kept? No. Students do not have an account, so no personal information is kept at all. If anything, we just see their name and whatever they answered, and then it gets deleted after we're done getting our reports. Another way that students can log in, if the teacher gives them a link into their Google Classroom, they would go into their Google Classroom and the link would be here and they would click on it and it will bring them right to the Nearpod. They don't even need a code and they just have to type in their name and join the session. At the end of their lesson, they would come back to Google Classroom and click mark as done. So this way the teacher knows that they finished the lesson and can check the report. So as we move through the lesson, we click on the blue arrows if you are in student pace mode. But for me, being the teacher, I can just click on the arrows and move the slides. The lessons will have an array of activities. I have a whole bunch in here so I can show you just what Nearpod does. Not every lesson will have all of them, but we try to put as many as we can to make the kids engaged. So teachers along throughout the whole thing, we can actually see who's in, I can hide the names or put the names in, but we can see who's involved in it and we can give student accountability. So if the students decide to get out of the Nearpod, we know who's in there and who's not. Again, we usually keep it hidden and they don't really see who's answering what. Another cool feature is that the students can save their slides. So they would click on that little note file and then they would click save to Google Drive and it will all go right into their Google Drive. They can even pick a folder if it's set up for them. And I'll show you what the notes look like at the end. They get all these slides and they can actually go back to the links and see the videos again. They could see the comments that were made anonymously And they can also see the questions to the quizzes that are put in there. So they have all their notes. And as they're typing in the notes, here I will actually do this just so you could see an example of what they see. So here I would type in notes and say, notes for my lesson. And I would just move along. And then I can just make sure that my notes, if I want to take notes on this one, I just make sure that I'm taking notes on the current slide and they match up. So now this first activity that I'm going to show you is collaborate. So this is where the teachers have the students kind of collaborate. Obviously great for now because we can't really have them working in groups, but they can post answers to the questions and the teacher can approve the student response ahead of time. And the kids can actually insert pictures. So I can put in water cycle. And let me close my notes there. And now I can insert a picture if I wanted to. And then being the teacher, I post it and then the teacher will approve it. Yes, I like that. Okay, what powers the water cycle? I can also go back in and again, I'm gonna go, well, let's see if we can get a different answer. Oh, there you go, sun. Oops, sorry. And again, it's a little slow. Oh, okay. Moving on. Sometimes that does happen. I think because I put 2 posts in. But with the class, students post their answers anonymously. Yes, you can approve the post before displaying it. Here's another kind of fun activity, taking the kids to a 3D model of the sun, or we could even take them to the International Space Station or even the Earth and see the cross sections of the Earth. So you basically use your mouse to scroll around, zoom in, zoom out. Another cool feature. Now, with the next part, this is kind of like a little slideshow where the kids will get vocabulary, maybe a picture with the word, and then here is the definition with it. And the students can actually move this part on their own if it's their own lesson. The next one I kept kind of simple. It's a little, let me hide the names. Match the word with correct definition. So they basically go and they can click and match pairs and they get an instantaneous result. Well done, 2 tries, wait for your teacher to continue. Got it. Oops, sorry, if you want to try that, I'll let you try it. Oops. Why is it not working? All right. So this allows us for reviewing concepts. Again, the scores are recorded. We don't lose time with cutting and pasting and trying to do that part. Or if we're remote, we don't have to give them a copy of it. It's here and they can practice. And again, they get these results all in their notes as well. This next one is kind of cool because it's fill in the blanks, a little closed note activity. So the students basically will move the words right into the box and they will get the results afterwards. They can, for the most part, you try to finish everything, but if they don't happen to finish it, it'll tell them they got a 2 out of 5. And then if they do it completely, it'll let them know how they do. So I'll just finish this so you can see what it does. And they click done and it closes it out. So that's another activity. The next one is they added some new features to this. I learned this through remote in the spring and it was great. The kids were using it. So this is an open-ended questions and it has the capability for our struggling readers to read it to them or even our...
Where do you think rain comes from?
And it will read...
It's okay if you're you're not sure, just give your best answer.
The
in
answer
3 to
choices
5
as well.
sentences.
If it's a quiz, it has that capability. This is great for, again, the struggling readers or even our ENL population. They have, if they can't speak, write the answers in complete sentences or struggle with spelling and are not confident with that, they can record their answers too. Rain comes from the ocean. And then they would play it back. I don't know if it's going to play back for you, only because I am in 2 modes at once, but it does play it back for them before they hand it in, and then they submit it, and the teacher can actually hear their voice in the response as well. So that was a new feature I really liked in the spring when I had my students use this. So now we are still doing some more vocabulary, possibly, and everything like Let's Learn. It's telling them what's going to be coming up next, so they're not caught off guard. And for videos, I'll do all devices so you have an opportunity. But for the videos, this one doesn't do it, but some of them you could actually insert questions and it will stop and put the questions, you put the questions in and it'll stop at the question, let them answer it. They can actually go back and hear the question again and listen to the section. It won't bring them, if they're over to like almost complete and there's another question, it'll just bring them back to the section where the answer will possibly be. So that's another feature that is similar to another program that we've been using, Ed Puzzle, so it is incorporated in here, but a video. Trying to add some music that they might like, keeping them engaged.
First off, for what it's worth, there is just a fixed amount of water on the earth, and it's trapped in a cycle moving back and forth between the earth and the atmosphere. Of course, because all water's been here for like billions of years, and the sun makes the cycle move.
I mean, this is actually a sample of another activity that's in there called Vocabulary. I'm still learning a little bit more about that, but it has all the vocabulary that would be in your lesson, especially with this one being water cycle. So it'll talk more about evaporation, condensation, even transpiration, evapotranspiration. So it really hits all those keywords that we try to touch upon. And they have it for ELA, they have it for social studies, all the different core subjects, even math, they have some of these lessons. And I feel like putting these videos in allows for the kids to get a different type of learning, and keeping them engaged. This next activity is really cool. The kids love it. They know how to use it better than me. This is Draw It, and I know it's great for allowing students to engage and show their understanding using pictures or even images if they struggle with speaking or writing. In kindergarten, I saw a couple of lessons where it allows them, the teacher would put an image of a paper with lines and has the different, the 3 different sets of lines that they would have, like the horizon line, and then it allows the kindergartners to practice their letters. I thought that was a cool feature, or even practicing drawing their shapes, identifying their shapes. So here they would have a pen and they could write if they're confident enough with that, or they have a highlighter where they can highlight what it is. Text, this is another great feature. I'm going to pick red so we can see it. And I'm going to write in, I'm going to move this where I want it to go first. Made a lot of mistakes with that. All right, and then I would put that there. And then you could add in and fill in whatever they heard from the video. They might not hear all the pieces. They might have just heard evaporation, condensation, and precipitation. This activity is again towards the end as culminating, and it will now allow them to see, oh wait, I know more. I know that this is the runoff. I know that there is groundwater down here. I know that there was transpiration happening. I know that there was snow melt happening. So these are some great activities Again, some more vocab here. I get moving through. This one's a little bit different. It doesn't have the picture, but it does have the word, and then it has the word and the vocabulary next to each other, which they could actually print out from their notes, and then they would be able to make like little flashcards if they wanted to, if they had their Chromebook hooked up to a printer. This next activity is similar to the 3D, except it's called VR. And this happens to be a glacier in Alaska. So this is allowing these kids to get an experience things that they might not be able to see in real life. And they can go and zoom in and zoom out. It even has the VR eyes. The kids got a kick out of this. This was a new feature. So they were able to see the whole VR with the camera. Again, they love this one. I was able to take them to Pompeii, and they were able to go and see the amphitheater, and you could even take them to Greece, and they could see the Parthenon. So some great activities for that. And let me move on a little bit more. Here's the quiz. This is one that I was trying to explain that it actually will read the questions and the choices to them if they're struggling. So I'll allow this to do
When
that.
the weather warms in snowy mountainous areas, the melted snow that runs downward towards sea level is called A. Precipitation, B. Groundwater, C. Snow melt.
And they would just go back here, and then they would put in their answer. And again, this one, they would read it to them as well if they wanted it read. They don't have to choose that, but some kids
The
need it.
process in which plants absorb groundwater through their roots, and they give off water vapor through the pores. A. Condensation, B. Transpiration, C. Precipitation.
And now it's going to give me my result over with the teacher part. And then I usually go over it in class. So it'll allow me to go in and I can actually go through and I talk to the kids about the question, and they can answer the questions and find out what the real answers are. And then they could take notes on their slides as well to get the real answer if they got it wrong. This is a little poll. I'll talk about this more on my last slide because it's a great tool for teachers, especially with the question that I have on the last slide for them. But again, this is just like a true or false type of question. You could even put this as a real quiz question if you had discussed it. Oh, sorry. And then here's an open-ended question again. And this one I didn't add the record feature to, so you can pick and choose which ones we want them to have the record. Some teachers may want them to really write, so this way that we can assess their writing. Here's a drawing again. So this is where they would redo it and hopefully get more answers put in. Still the same features. They can, again, add more images. So if I wanted more help with the water cycle, I could type that in. And I can maybe look at it and see if it will help me better to answer my questions. So they now have like something to guide them to answer it. So that's another good resource as well. This next feature is probably their favorite if it loads up for me. And it's called Time to Climb. We can actually make any of the quizzes into a time to climb. So they usually tell me which one they want. Lately, we've been doing the underwater. And they get to pick their character, a little avatar here. I'm gonna go with the penguin today. And then if you guys want to join in, you could pick yours. My name's not hidden, but all yours are hidden. And then we start the round. And we answer the questions. it takes the time, waits for them all to answer. Sometimes we post the names and they can see who's in the lead. They get really into this, competing with each other. It's kind of humorous. So one time I hear them talking right now. And this is good for review for quizzes as well. So we can always do, like their study guide can go into a time to climb, and it's a little bit more interactive. Instead of doing the traditional quiz and doing it that way. At least here they can kind of move around in their seats to the music because they like it. And then at the end, whoever's winning, the leaderboard goes up, so the top 6. And the teacher can see all of them. And then they get to see who's on the podium. And here is the feature that I like. It is the poll. And here we can do a little survey where we ask the students how they feel about the concept after a lesson. And this way we can identify whether or not they fully understand it or if they still need help. So here you can see yellow, they'll pick for slow down, green for go, red for stop. I'm gonna pick red for stop. And then the teacher gets the results. They know now, okay, I have to slow down. I need to go back. There's a few of them that didn't understand. When the lesson is over, students will go in and they will exit the lesson just like that. And then the reports go back to the teacher. I'm gonna just put this here and I'm gonna show you that feature that I liked. It was move this down again. There you go. It's the notes. And here they are. So this is what downloads into their Google Drive. All the notes, every single slide that they wanted. This is a new feature for us because we, got the upgrade for it. Otherwise, I would not have had this, and I think it's a great because now we don't need to necessarily hand out paper copies for them or the paper copies getting lost and having to photocopy them again. Here they have it in their drive. I've been mentioning to the teachers to help show the kids how to save and make folders in their drives to organize them that way as well. And previously I had already set up some notes and typed in some things. So I put in, this is something that I had typed in my notes. Another cool feature is students can save the slides by clicking on the notes feature right to Google Drive. That's something I typed in. I'm gonna bring you to the feature when we went here. It'll take me right back to the collaborative board. I can see the answers that I want, all right? I can also go back to this image if I wanted to because I thought it was so cool. And all kids get that access to it. Even the questions and the notes. So here they can have the evaporation card. They can cut this out and they can make little flashcards for themselves if they wanted to. We have the matching thing here as well, the matching activity, the fill in the blanks. So they could have taken notes and found out the right answers and then we would have been able to see that as well. They would have the answers to their open-ended questions. They even get to go back into the video. I think this should let me go back. Sometimes it doesn't work for this. I was having trouble with this today. It was an upgrade and then all of a sudden it worked again. Oh, see, and then it brought me back here. Oh, sorry, that's something else. So then they can rewatch the video if they wanted to as well. The draw it activity. So now they have their diagram, what they did before, so they can see how much they improved on the next one. The VR I can go back to. So again, this is just a great feature that the students now have access to in their notes. And that is all about Nearpod. I hope I was able to help you understand it a little better. And if you do have questions, I guess we can open them up for comments.
Thank you, Lucy.
You're welcome.
Let's see. We can wait to see if there's any Q&As. I tried to answer some of them, and some of them, as Lucy was speaking, were answered already. Some of the features that we like too is that we can, and correct me if I'm wrong, and if I already said it, Lucy, I'm sorry, but
That's okay.
we can control student screens, right?
Yes.
Through this, we can see their level of engagement. So if a student goes idle, we get a notification on the teacher's end in some way, right?
Yes, we do get notification. I believe it was, if you want me to share again, I can show you that. I think I can get into there. Here, let me try it again. And I'll show you what I was talking. I don't know if everyone's in lesson. Move that down. So down here in this, where it has the people and the 8, I could see who was in lesson. And then if kids are, I can actually remove students from the lesson as well if they're doing inappropriate things, or if they're not taking it seriously. So that is another great feature as well. And then also when we get our student reports, if they've logged in multiple times, it'll show us all the scores every single time that they logged in. Obviously, you look at the higher score of it from that end. So like one time I had a student 0 because they weren't finished, and then another time they were at 67. And the final time when they finally finished, it was at 100. So, and sometimes they were allowed to go on student paced. They can have the opportunity to go back to the questions. When it's teacher paced, the teacher has to bring them back to the slide.
I think what I like about this too is that if you consider that we have some students that are in front of us and we have some kids that are remote, this allows us to have an interactive lesson no matter where the child is, if they're in front of you or if they're at home. And again, like I had said back in '96 when I left college, this would be mind-blowing. I can remember in Geneseo that the computer labs had just started to open, and to see us, where we are now in the last couple of weeks, it's amazing. Carla, I don't know how to say your last name, so I'm going to just refer to you as Carla. I apologize. Yes, we have Nearpod is accessible for all students from K to 12 this year. We're going to see, we wanted to open that up for every faculty member to have access to it. Some will use it more than others just because of how familiar they are. We did a training on the 14th in regard to this, and we continue to utilize it, and those who can use it more often will. We also have invested in a feature for English language learners, and it's we're beginning to understand its uses. So if it hasn't been used yet, it will very much be so in the future. Lucy, can you see the Q&A too?
Yes, I can see some of them.
So we answered these two.
Another feature, I lost my train of thought for a minute. Another thing about Nearpod is, I can say from experience, right now I have remote learners and I have kids actively in my classroom. So I'm able to do both. With the Nearpod, I can actually share my screen with them, but they can actually go into their Nearpod and then they're able to do the activity as well and engage with the class for those students that are not able to come to school yet.
Yeah, looking at Jennifer Owens' question, teachers will add more content, each lesson. So just so you know too, they have full editing rights if they wanted to create something on their own, or upload something that they previously had and make it into something that's more interactive, or there's a library that they can use that they can preview to see if it's similar to what they would want to present to students as well. So
and each teacher is different as far as the lesson. I like to put small lessons at a time and not the whole unit, only because of the class period and time. And this way they can have access to that information that we just did in class right away. And even if they do a bigger unit and it's like 100 slides or however many slides, they still get the access, except it only brings them to the point. The notes that they get will only be up to that day, I believe. It might not be the whole slides, but then every time they log in, it'll update the notes right into Google Drive. They don't even have to do any more clicking or anything like that. So that's another cool feature. So every teacher's kind of different as far as how they want to assign their Nearpods, if they do a smaller lesson or if they do a longer lesson. It's just, I guess, to the style that we have.
Yeah, so just to answer your question, Mrs. Owens, it's some are doing it day to day and some are able to map it out a little bit more. But I would say that as people become more comfortable, you might see more released at one specific time. This won't replace Google Classroom. This will be a feature within Google Classroom. So Google Classroom is what's called a learning management system, and LMS is what the acronym is. So these, just like you're saying here, the links will, students can see these posted, as Mrs. Dabrowski pointed out in the beginning. You'll see these posted within a Google Classroom for access.
And it's a different code for each lesson. It's not the same code.
Right.
And each class can have their own code as well. So you have it grouped out. So this way you don't have all your students in one class, in one lesson. So this way, okay, this class needs this particular, more information for this. And this class needs a little bit more time preparing for this concept. So it's overall geared. It depends on how the teacher lays it out as well.
So just to finish, Mrs. Razi, this could be used in a live class or it could be used asynchronously and posted for somebody. I think as Ms. Dabrowski had pointed out, you could have a teacher version where you're using it in live time, but you could also convert this to a student version where they could progress at their own pace.
And the teacher could launch both of them and have the teacher one and then have the student pace for them to go back to.
So I think it's Mackie, if I'm saying it correctly. So Nearpod, you'll note if you have an assignment through Google Classroom.
Yes.
There's a to-do list within there that you could find with your child. That's a new feature actually, because Google understood that there was some confusion as to some students at whatever level they're on. And I can tell you, even my graduate students that I've had 2 weekends ago that are asking me if I received their assignment this past Thursday when it was due, you could see what's been assigned, what's still to be completed, and what's been completed and graded. So you'll be able to see that within Google Classroom. And those are some of the things that after Mr. Garofola's presentation about a week ago, that he sent out notice to faculty to review with students so that they would understand how to show this to their students.
I know we've been showing them that to do, and there's like to do that's due today, overdue, or due this week. We've been talking to the students about that as well.
So Mrs. Williams, actually, when Lucy was presenting before, I think what we need to do is, number one, we're going to get back on at some point and talk about, and Lucy had referred to it a couple of times tonight, is organizational skills for students. We knew they were challenged even with just notebooks and a locker. Now they have a device and everything's electronic. So we're going to have to absolutely talk to kids about organizational skills, but not only that, like you're saying, taking notes on a Chromebook is quite different than taking notes, in a notebook. So we will look at some effective strategies for that and make sure that we share that with the students so that they are keeping pace in class, or if they're remote, and making sure that that's organized. All right. Thank you again, Lucy, for your time tonight. That was wonderful. I know everybody got a great deal out of it. This again is one of our, I know Mrs. Zabrowski's been using it for a while, but something that's very new to our school and more widely used. So we're excited about it. It gives us a whole bunch of other possibilities. Definitely check out the field trips, the virtual field trips that are there, and some of the VR. It's a very cool application. Next week, again, if you're a kindergarten through second grade parent, or if you just want to learn more about a new application we're using with our youngest students, imagine this is that you're going to have kindergartens with a signed Chromebook very soon, if they haven't already, with a QR code. They're just going to scan in front of the camera, and it's going to give them the access to all these applications. So we are moving absolutely at record pace, and it's wonderful to see that this is happening even with our youngest students. That'll be next Tuesday, which is Seesaw, and then the following Thursday would be Ed Puzzle with Mr. Perez. So thank you again. We appreciate everybody's support, and have a great evening.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucy.